Recorded Books presents Titan's Bloodshed, The Great Insurrection, Book 8, by David Beers and Michael Anderle. Narrated by John Skelley. The Written History of the Great Insurrection. Prometheus occupied the propraetor's residence in the middle of Neptune's capital. I, Thoreau, sat above a battlefield on which the soldiers had ceased fighting for the time being. Nero was dead. He gave his life for his brother, and his body was still in the propraetor's hallway. If the Commonwealth hadn't realized the All-Mother was a force to be reckoned with, they knew now. For 1,000 years, the Commonwealth had ruled without being challenged, and now one of their royals, the propraetor's wife, had been captured by a man who could kill her with impunity if necessary. For the first time in its history, the Commonwealth might lose a planet. Those were facts it needed to understand. We had some facts to deal with, too. Prometheus was separated from his military, and if his fleet attempted to reach him, much of it would be destroyed. A godlike mutant stood on the battleground below me, and he'd begun decimating our military. If Prometheus hadn't arrived when he did, there'd be no army left. Adding to the odds against us, none of our leaders and greatest fighters were on the field. Trying to get them there would risk their lives, because they'd be in indefensible positions as they used our ships to reach the battle. Our network of spies had given us more information. First, reinforcements were on the way to Neptune. The Ascendant had held off much of his army so far, but he was unleashing more now. Second, and this one wasn't understood by any of us, a dreadnought had launched from Earth. The trajectory showed it leaving the solar system. It was flying in the 5th dimension, which meant the Ascendant was using his private pack of mutants to fly it. It raised a lot of questions. When the insurrection was nearly at your door, why would you send a warship away from the battle? Why would you put mutants on it instead of using them in the war? Where was it going? I didn't know any of these answers, and neither did Prometheus. Truthfully, we stopped thinking about that ship and focused our minds on the enemy before us. I know now we made a mistake when we did that. Chapter 1. AllSeer knew that without Jeeves, the three of them would be dead. He also knew that if Neptune's propraetor Dephibian managed to regain control of his home's AI, AllSeer was dead. Certain parts of the residence were equipped with invasion defense systems, lasers, plasma, oxygen removal from hallways, and other defensive measures. Right now, Jeeves controlled them, which allowed AllSeer to continue living. No one could assault him behind his barricade. He, his warriors, and the defensive systems would be too much for anyone they sent. If the systems failed, AllSeer would find himself in a very different situation. 5 hours had passed since he dispatched 10 Neptune guards, then barricaded his group within the propraetor's residence. It was him, Realm, Caesar, and Dephibian's wife. AllSeer found out her name was Ona, and he wasn't suffering from misplaced sexism about the lady. He'd been able to break her wrist and end the fight without many issues, but she'd nearly killed his greatest warrior moments before. Caesar was fully healed now. His nanotech had worked on him at intervals, since releasing it from his body always weakened the Gigante. Caesar's wounds had been more serious than Realm's, and Realm was nearly patched up. The nanotech still covered a small part of his face, healing the frostburn he'd received when Prometheus had breached the atmosphere. Jeeves was under strict instructions to monitor Nero's body and report if anything happened to it. AllSeer had also made it clear to Phoebian that if something untoward were to occur and his body was violated, his wife was dead. AllSeer meant it, too, even though it would remove his leverage. Nero had given his life for this cause, and to protect his brothers, and his body would get the respect due it. AllSeer understood his position was weak, though his leverage was great. This
Sample complete. Ready to continue?